Hi, I'm Robert. We're going to talk about fingering the C major scale and how I recommend that you move your hand to do it. Um, this is inspired by a conversation that I was having with my cousin, who is learning the C major scale and other basic piano stuff. Um, so, one of the videos that she pointed to on YouTube showed the C major scale with a lot of finger movement and a pretty still hand and forearm, so something like this. It's hard for me to do it that way. But the important thing to note is that it included this sort of train going through the tunnel thing that a lot of beginning piano students learn, where the thumb is tucked underneath the palm of the hand to cross to the F at that point in the scale. And what I want to advocate is that you don't do that, and that each of the movements that you make to play a note is made mostly with a rotation of your forearm. So the position you want your hand in is if you put it at your side and completely relax it and then just lift it up to the keyboard, you want to maintain this position as much as possible so that your big muscles are working against gravity to hold the structure of your arm, but your small muscles are never working against the anatomy of your hand. So you'll find that if you relax your hand, it's not possible to relax your hand with the thumb tucked under like this. And that means that you have small muscles in tension against your own anatomy to maintain or to have that position and then try to play a note while you're in that awkward hand position. And it's possible to avoid that awkward hand position and use only relaxed positions where the big muscles are doing the work and the small muscles never have to fight the anatomy of your hand. So, and we do that with rotating the forearm to play that note and then rotate the forearm again to play the next note and rotate the forearm again. And I'm holding my fingers off of the keys, which is bad practice actually. And now we have a question of how do we get the thumb to the F without crossing under the hand in this awkward way? Well, this is a pretty relaxed position for the thumb. And I can get my hand out of the way and make that transition legato between the third finger and the thumb with just a movement of the forearm and rotation of the forearm. So when I'm on the E with my third finger, I can rotate my hand out of the way, and now my thumb is almost over the F with this sort of clockwise rotation, clockwise rotation of my forearm. And now to bring the thumb down to the F, I'm going to make a counterclockwise rotation of the forearm. And that looks funny and it's exaggerated because I'm sort of flinging my fingers around, but in real piano playing, of course, it's much less exaggerated and much more smooth, and it tends to look more like this. And the idea here is that at no point in that sequence of playing the scale was my thumb underneath my hand and trying to play a note. So some people call it crossing over instead of crossing under because they kind of imagine the thumb going over the third finger and the third finger getting out of the way right at the last minute to allow the thumb to come down. You can think of it that way too. But the point is that without ever getting your thumb underneath your hand like that, and without ever doing these big finger lifts and like this kind of stuff, you can play that scale very smoothly. And it's possible to have your wrist too high or too low. You don't want your wrist low like this, like below the level of the keys, and you don't want it really high either. some people hold their wrist really high in fear that they need a lot of space underneath their hand to make these crossovers. Neither one of those works very well. You really want to maintain this kind of relaxed position of the hand as if it were just relaxed at your side and then brought up to the keys. So that's sort of the right wrist height that you want. And yeah, that's it. I mean, the main principles are use your big muscles to work against gravity and let your small muscles maintain the structure of your hand in a relaxed position so that your small muscles are never working against your own anatomy. And that's what I have for you. So find a way to use these rotations of the forearm so that you can make that transition without ever crossing your thumb underneath. You never want to do that. And the same coming down. Avoid that. Do that. So I go from this kind of position to, and here I'm not crossing the thumb under my palm, I'm rotating my hand, rotate, and when I land on this note, my thumb is not stuck underneath my palm. My thumb is out. So I have the feeling of maintaining this relaxed hand posture the whole way, even though I've crossed over. And it can sound completely legato if you want it to. So maybe a little bit strange compared to what you know, but I find that I can practice a lot longer and avoid having any pain in my hands by thinking of how I move my hands this way. If you ever find your hands are in a tense position and you're trying to play a note, especially if your hands are trying to play notes when you're in a tense position where you have muscle tension working against your own anatomy, that's a red flag, and you're more likely to experience pain and fatigue that way. Okay, thanks.